Battle through the heavens, Grand World. Chapter 172 Advancing into a Divine Weapon. After listening to what Xiao Yan said, the Great Elder could no longer remain calm. His face turned pale, and he looked at Xiao Yan solemnly. His voice was trembling slightly. "Don't talk nonsense about this kind of thing. Are you sure that black-robed man said the name of the ninth disciple?" Xiao Yan nodded without any hesitation. If he had suspected that the Guwu and Soul Demon mentioned by the black-robed man were not the same, after hearing the Great Elder's description of the Soul Demon, Xiao Yan was certain. How is this possible? The Soul Demon that disturbed the Great World in ancient times has appeared again. Guwu changed its name to show its determination. Smiling with some difficulty, Great Elder was like an ant on a hot pan, pacing back and forth in the ancient palace, pondering what this matter would cause to the Great World. After a long while, he suddenly laughed lightly. "What am I worrying about? Why am I here alone? The Soul Demon has reappeared, and it is facing the entire Great World, not the Xiao clan." After a pause, the Great Elder looked at Xiao Yan with a serious expression. "This matter is of great importance. Don't tell anyone else about it. Otherwise, it will definitely cause a disturbance. Perhaps, the Soul Demon clan will be forced to move ahead of time and escort that disciple of the Purple Radiance sect. I will also inform Xiao Wang and ask him to remind that disciple not to leak any information." Xiao Yan nodded his head when he heard this. However, in his heart, he was sneering at the Soul Demon. In other words, the Guwu general was the common enemy of the entire Great World. However, the first thing that the Great Elder thought of was how the Xiao clan would seek wealth in this crisis. After that, the Xiao clan would be under full martial law, and when the Guwu clan moved out. When the entire world was caught off guard, the Xiao clan would be able to deal with them with ease while the other major powers were busy dealing with them. They would become the major powers that had preserved their strength in this war. It would definitely play an important role in the development of the Xiao clan. Although he had thought of the Great Elder's thoughts, Xiao Yan had no intention of exposing him. The Great Elder was doing this for the sake of his own family. Everyone wanted their own family to be better. There was nothing wrong with what the Great Elder did. As for the other powers of the Great World, they weren't related to him at all. Why should he tell them what he needed to do now? It was to quickly increase his strength, and when the Gu sorcerers attacked, to have the ability to protect the person I love, that's enough. To love all living things, Xiao Yan was not that noble. He also didn't have the ability. By the way, show me your ruler when you were fighting in the teleportation hall of Yuanyi City. The Great Elder came before Xiao Yan and stretched out his hand and said with a smile. "What?" Seeing the shock on Xiao Yan's face, the Great Elder teased, "What do you think happened in Taiching Mansion? When you were messing around in the teleportation hall of Yuanyi City, some experts of Xiao clan already knew about it, but I have instructed them before. That was why they didn't attack. Otherwise, do you think a puny monarch spirit like you can cause a ruckus in the Taiching Mansion?" Xiao Yan could only smile helplessly when he heard this. With a flip of his hand, the blue flame ruler appeared in his hand and was handed over to the Great Elder. The Great Elder gently caressed the surface of the ruler with his palm. He couldn't help but nod his head slightly. After feeling it for a moment, he spoke with some surprise. "This ruler is forged from gray flame iron, right? This is really rare. I didn't expect that the aura would be so strong. The blacksmith must also have extraordinary strength." After a pause, the Great Elder waved it a few times. He carefully felt the vibration in the air and said softly, "It seems that this thing has already reached the peak of spirit weapon. It's not much weaker than some heavenly soldiers." After saying that, the Great Elder raised his head and looked at Xiao Yan. "Since you're here, I'll give you a big gift. How about I help you strengthen this spirit weapon into a heavenly weapon?" Xiao Yan was delighted to hear this. He was a little surprised and asked, "Once the spirit weapon is forged, won't it be completely formed? It can actually be strengthened?" The Great Elder waved the blue flame ruler and nodded his head in satisfaction, saying, "Ordinary spirit weapons naturally can't. However, the gray flame iron is a rare and excellent material for forging divine weapons in a great world. You should also know the unique memory ability of the gray flame iron, right? This was simply the best material to become a powerful weapon. Moreover, as far as I know, there are some sects in the great worlds that have been passed down for a long time. Almost all of their sect weapons are forged from greyflame iron or materials of the same level. As he spoke, the Great Elder pointed with one hand in the air. A spatial crack the size of a finger appeared, and a wisp of golden flame suddenly emerged from within. Under the Great Elder's command, this wisp of flame was like flowing water as it gently covered the blue flame ruler, completely wrapping it within. Weapons at the spirit weapon stage only need a large number of origin monarch key and special forging methods to achieve the goal of strengthening. Lastly, we just need to seal the monarch skill within it. It will be a lot harder when the heavenly weapon is strengthened. It also needs a large amount of precious minerals, the path of forging. It was much more complicated than refining pills. Moreover, the number of blacksmiths was even lesser than that of alchemists. Many of the forging techniques passed down from ancient times were controlled by some forces and families. Outsiders simply had no chance to learn them, which also led to the scarcity of weapons above the heaven grade in the Great World. Even in the Shao clan, there aren't many heavenly weapons. While forging the blue flame ruler with a skilled technique, the Great Elder introduced the blue flame ruler to Shao Yan. The surface of the ruler rippled like water under the cover of the golden flame. The Great Elder held the handle of the ruler with one hand and stroked the surface of the ruler with the other. A large amount of pure origin monarch ki slowly flowed out from the center of the ruler and entered the blue flame ruler with a special technique, causing the blue flame ruler to shine even brighter. Shao Yan stood at the side, and on the surface, he was fully focused on the Great Elder's actions. However, he secretly communicated with the Shao Yi hiding in the blue flame ruler in his heart. The message that the latter transmitted also made Shao Yan feel relieved. Although there was no need for the Great Elder to harm him, he had to be careful in everything. If he found out that there was something wrong with the blue flame ruler when the time came, there would be no place for him to cry. The difference between a heavenly weapon and a spirit weapon is that a heavenly weapon no longer needs its own origin monarch key to seal monarch skill. It can respond to the origin monarch key in the world on its own, as long as its owner's soul is strong enough. He would be able to use the monarch skill without limit. Moreover, the heavenly weapon could be used at normal times. The spirit weapon could be compared to the origin monarch key. It can't even be mentioned in the same breath. Buzz. After a while, the blue flame ruler in the Great Elder's hand suddenly let out a buzzing sound. A sharp aura that could be vaguely sensed suddenly erupted from it, causing Xiaoyan's heart to tremble. This feeling was far from what an ordinary spirit weapon could have. Wiping away the fine beads of sweat on his forehead, the Great Elder looked at it. A surprised look emerged in his eyes as he looked at the blue flame ruler. This wasn't the first time he had enhanced the spirit weapon to a heavenly weapon, but this was the first time he had encountered a spirit weapon that required such a huge amount of heavenly sovereigns. As a heavenly sovereign, he could faintly feel a sense of weakness in his body. Alright, I've succeeded. Next, I'll seal the monarch skill inside. As he spoke, the Great Elder was about to withdraw the golden flame from the blue flame ruler when a trace of crimson gold flame suddenly flashed across the surface of the ruler. In the next moment, the golden flame had already entered the blue flame ruler, leaving the Great Elder with a shocked expression in his falling hand. At the same time, Shao Yan could feel the excited squeaking of the Shao Yi in his heart. Chapter end. Hi guys, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.